DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking to my ball. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Hello, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Sunday evening, March 30th. March is almost over. April's almost here. That means NFL draft time, and I can't wait. I am your host, Michael Leva, joined by our good friend Tom Ernest from right here at DolphinsTalk.com. Tom, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, buddy. I'm ready to talk NFL draft. We are, in my opinion, this is officially draft season. Free agency has winded down to the bare bones, and now the focus is on the NFL draft at the end of April, but it's never too early to start talking about it.
Yes, and it's never too early for a good mock draft. And I love nothing more than a good mock draft. I know at the end of the day, they're essentially pointless. I know everyone has an opinion, and some people don't know what the hell they're talking about. But it's always fun to look at, read, and just see what other people think regarding not just your team, but other teams as well. So tonight, as we always do, we'll do one this week. We'll probably do one next week. And then maybe the week before the draft or so, we'll do a third one. We're just going to alternate back and forth. One of us will have the odd number teams. One of us will have the even number teams. And I got my trusty pencil here, Tom. I'm going to write down the picks. My trusty number 2 oversized pencil. If you're watching on YouTube, this is more of a visual than audio. But yes, so we'll have some fun with that. For those of you watching us live on YouTube, please be sure to smash that like button. Smash it right now. I want to see like 100, 200, 300 like buttons smashed tonight. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube. Also, shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Caneswear. Everyone go to the website, caneswear.com, for the best Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. If you need a hat, you need a hoodie, you need a polo shirt, you need a golf shirt, you need a jacket, you need a jersey in the Miami Dolphins, you go to the website, caneswear.com. They got you covered with the best Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. Also, they have stuff for the Florida Panthers, the Florida Marlins, the Miami Heat, who kind of stink right now, and also the Miami Hurricanes and all the college teams in South Florida. University of Florida going to the Final Four. Congratulations. But caneswear.com for the best Miami Dolphins apparel. Also, Dolphins Talk Extra. You love this show? You love podcasts? Dolphins Talk Extra. Bonus podcast on the Dolphins. Bonus podcast about pro wrestling, Major League Baseball, the NBA. I did a rant on that no good son of a gun LeBron James and his horrible interview with Pat Mack. If you can listen to that at Dolphins Talk Extra, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. $3 a month, private message board. We give stuff away. Patreon. Also, I'm doing a contest for everybody, Tom. I don't know if you saw this today. Let me get the picture. You can win a 2025 Miami Dolphins draft hat. It can be this one. It can be the one with the flat, what the hell do you call it? That's it. Flat brim, whatever one you want, 2025 Dolphins draft hat. You got to do 2 things. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go to our Apple podcast. So head there, search for Dolphins Talk, put up a 5-star rating, and type in a positive review. Take a screenshot, email that to DolphinsTalk1977@gmail.com. You will be entered in the contest, and on April 7th, I will pick the winner. I already got a few submissions, and that's all you got to do. Go to Apple Podcasts, 5-star review, write a positive comment, take a screenshot, email it to DolphinsTalk1977@gmail.com, and you can win this 2025 Miami Dolphins official draft hat that was dropped last week for all the teams. This is the Dolphins one if you're watching on YouTube. All right, we're going to get into the draft first, then we'll talk about the news of the Dolphins. We'll talk Tyreek Hill and more drama there and what's going on at left tackle and some other stuff as well. So We got to figure out who's doing odds or evens. I got a coin. Once again, very visual. If you're listening, I'm sorry. Tommy, you want heads or tails?
Let's go tails because it never fails, Mike.
Okay, it's heads, and I'm going to take the even numbers. So I'll give you. Sorry, you lost. So I'm going to take the even numbers. I'll give you the odds. I'll give you Miami's pick this time around, and maybe next week we'll just switch. So I'll do the opposite. But so right now, pick number 1, Tom Ernest. You are the general manager of the Tennessee Titans. You are on the clock. What are the Titans going to do with the first overall pick?
Well, with any NFL draft, you usually know the first pick as soon as the clock starts. And this shouldn't take long, but they're going to drag it out for the entire 10 minutes, plus TV commercial breaks. But the pick should be simple. It's going to be Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami. They have Will Levis. Who cares? He hasn't really shown that promise other than beating the Dolphins a couple times, obviously on Monday night. But Cam Ward is the pick, in my opinion, and it should not take long to do.
Yeah, I agree. Best quarterback in this class. Clearly, they need quarterback help. It's not splitting the atom at the end of the day. You don't expect to be picking number 1 often, so when you do, take the quarterback. Okay, number 2 is the Cleveland Browns. They could go a few ways here. They got 3 options, really. They could go with Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback, as they have quarterback needs. Watson's out this year, and then he's under contract for 2026, but he's probably not going to play for them. They're probably just going to keep him on the bench and not play him. So they need a quarterback, and then you have Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, who they could use. Can you imagine Travis Hunter in Cleveland? You can play him wide receiver, play him on the other side of the ball, corner. You could use him away. But just think about Abdul Carter lining up opposite Myles Garrett.
Oh, God.
I don't care who your quarterback is. Good luck trying to pass the ball against those two. And that's what I'm doing. Abdul Carter, I don't care about some stress fracture in his leg because you know why? He's healthy. He's healthy enough. And this ain't a pick just for 2025. This is a pick for the next 15 years. I'm going Abdul Carter, Penn State edge rusher, number 2. He's the best player in this draft. I don't care, quarterback or not. Abdul Carter goes to Cleveland. Him and Myles Garrett. Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers for sure. That's I mean, personally, I don't think they reach at a quarterback at 2, so I'm in a full agreement. And the next the best player in this draft, in my opinion, is Abdul Carter. So it would be a home run pick for the Browns, if you want to call it that. They get another edge rusher in a division where you need to have guys that set the edge. And if you can have, obviously, Myles Garrett arguably is the best pass rusher in the NFL, one of the best defensive ends in football. It's no brainer to add someone who has that much ability across from him. So the Giants at 3, I think they're going to reach. I don't think Shedeur is a top 5 pick, but it's a quarterback league, and I think the Giants are the team that will reach for him. They will not have to start him right away. They can let him marinate behind Russell Wilson, who I think can be a good teacher for him because he's only under contract for 1 year. When the Giants stink by week 7, there might be 2-5 or 1-6, and then that could be the moment where they throw him behind that putrid offensive line. But the pick will be Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado.
Yep. Hold on, let me get to my notes here. Shedeur Sanders. Yeah. Totally plausible. His father has been pushing for him to go there. I know in one of the final college games, maybe it was the bowl game in the Alamo Bowl, he wore Giants cleats. Not that he knew they were going to pick 3rd. It was just, I don't know. It just seems like the stars are aligned for this. We'll see what the Giants do. That's really where this round 1 takes a little bit of a turn, because if they don't take him and they go like Travis Hunter or like an offensive lineman or something, then it's like one of these teams that either like the Jets or the Saints in the top 10 could get him, or he might fall past them, and then it might be a real fall. But I do agree. I think the Giants are in play for him. Pick number 4, you look at the Patriots. Their biggest issue is not the defense per se. Their offense just needs weapons. And I'm sorry, the signing of Stephon Diggs does nothing to excite most people. They're going to take Travis Hunter, and they're going to use him on each side of the ball. But I think he just gives them on offense. You can use him in a variety of ways, especially a wide receiver. I would probably use him more on the other side of the ball because I think it's more valuable. You can get wide receivers anywhere. It's hard to get top flight corners, but the fact he can do both. Mike Vrabel knows what the hell he's doing, which is a fear of mine now in the AFC East. But I think the Patriots just take the best football player here in or probably the second best football person in this draft after Abdul Carter. So the Patriots go Travis Hunter. Now, number 5, Jacksonville, our good buddy Tony Khan. Let's see if he's wearing a neck brace this year, Tom. Tom, where's your neck brace? What's going on in the Jags war room? What's going on? Who are they going to take? What's Tony Khan going to do?
Well, other than writing shitty wrestling scripts, it should be an easy pick for them at this point.
Nothing's
I
easy
think
for
Jonathan Taylor averages. Yeah, I think they average Jonathan Taylor averages like 200 yards a game against the Jaguars in his career. It's some absurd number. They need help, and they need help on the interior of the defensive line. And they're going to take Mason Graham out of Michigan. It will cure a lot of woes, and that team has a long list of woes. But that getting Mason Graham, who is the best defensive player in my opinion in this draft, at number 5 is a great pick, and I can only imagine they screw it up and probably take somebody else, but Mason Graham is my pick.
Yeah. No, they'll probably take him on a Thursday night, and he'll be on AEW Collision Saturday evening. And he'll probably tear a knee and he'll be out for the season. Okay, now this is one here of the Raiders where I have no clue what they're going to do. You got Pete Carroll's there now, the new general manager. They're always a little crazy. You got the running back here from Boise State. He's on the board for them. I wouldn't be shocked if they did something like that. But they also have needs at wide receiver, corner, offensive line's a mess, linebackers. I mean, they really can just take the best player available. But this is the Raiders at the end of the day. And he's still his father's son. And I think, let me see what I want. Where's the name I'm looking for? Hold on, give me 1 second. Where's the name I'm looking for? Okay. And I'm not going to be able to say this. The Raiders always do something a little weird. Give me the wide receiver out of Arizona, Terataya McMillan. I know I said the first name wrong. I know some people think they're going to take the running back. But I think we've seen running backs. You can get quality ones rounds 2 and 3. Still the Raiders. He wants big, fast guys. And I think McMillan out of Arizona, they traded Adams last year, never really replaced him. They got to replace him, and they got to give Geno Smith a chance to have some success. So I'm going – it's a mild surprise, not a huge, because I've seen him go in the top 10 of a lot of mocks. So that's my pick at 6. Oh, boy, you went from Tony Khan to the Jets, Tom. Oh, you're having a blast.
I'm having a ball. And every single mock draft that I've seen has the Jets taking Tyler Warren. I'm not foolish enough to take Tyler Warren. I don't think tight end is that big of a need for the Jets. I think even after last year, they still need help on the offensive line because Aaron Rodgers got his ass kicked behind that offensive line last year. I think they go offensive tackle. I think they go Armand Membu, offensive tackle out of Mizzou, to play right tackle for the New York Jets.
Yep, they drafted an offensive tackle at the top of round 1 last year, kid from Penn State. At left tackle, this guy is more of a right tackle. And now, once again, not good for the Dolphins. They'd have 2 very good offensive tackles for the next 10 to 15 years. But that's what the Jets need, 100%. Now we got the Carolina Panthers here. What do we got here for Carolina? Carolina, that's their team with needs everywhere. Edge, safety, cornerback, wide receiver, defensive line. You can go a million different ways. What do I want to do here for them? I'm going to go because they just pump out superstars on defense in the NFL. Unless you're the Dolphins, you take Channing Tindall. Give me Jelon Walker, the edge rusher out of Georgia. number 8 to Carolina. I think he's what they need. You got to get after the quarterback a little bit. And I think that's what they do. And once again, here with the Panthers and like the Raiders with my picks at 6 and 8, it's tough because they have needs, so many needs. They can go in a million different ways, but that's right. That's where I got them going at least this week in this mocks. Tommy, you're up number 9. The Saints, New Orleans, or as they say, Nolans.
This team is on a full rebuild. They just got a brand new head coach. And one of the things that Kellen Moore likes to do is, obviously he's an offensive coordinator, right? He's an offensive coordinator. He wants to be electric on offense. One of the things that he had that was in Philadelphia was a superstar running back. So I'm going to go on the limb and say that the New Orleans Saints want to have a little bit of balance for Derek Carr, probably his final year in New Orleans, but they need some stability. And Alvin Kamara, as good as he is, he's getting up there in age. Eventually, you're going to have to hand the reins over, and Ashton Jeanty is the guy out of Boise State. I think it's a little bit of reach. I don't know if it's that huge of a need for them because they have Kamara. But Kamara is more of the receiving back. He's not a between the tackles guy. They want to control the clock. They want to run the football to take some heat off of Derek Carr, who's been getting beat up. He got beat up last year in New Orleans. Ashton Jeanty is the pick for the Saints.
All right. Now up is number 10, the Bears. And once again, the Bears could go in a variety of ways. And I'm going to stick with Georgia. I'm going to go with another edge. See, they've sort of revamped their offensive line, so some of these offensive linemen are kind of falling here in our mock. But I think they're going to go with another outside linebacker from Georgia, Mikael Williams. They've done so much on their offensive line. I think to take another one here wouldn't be bad. It would just kind of be overkill at this point. So Mikael Williams, the edge rusher out of Georgia, which I'm probably saying his first name wrong, goes to the Bears at 10. Number 11, San Francisco, who's a little bit of a hot mess these days.
They are rebuilding. It seems like they're doing a big reset. There are even talks about Brandon Ayuk potentially getting traded before his money gets paid out on tomorrow at 12 o'clock. So we'll see how that plays out. But what the 49ers need to do, Trent Williams is elite. He's always been elite. But every year he complains about wanting more money. And he sits out until they pony up and give him more money. So what do? They go out and they draft his replacement. They're going to go get Will Campbell, the offensive tackle from LSU, who is sitting there and just too hard to pass up, particularly because we know the 49ers. They like to run the football. They have a unique scheme, and Shanahan wants to get younger up front. And I think because they've lost a few offensive linemen in free agency, they need to get a little bit younger there, and I think Will Campbell's a steal at 11.
Yep. Cowboys, Big D, Jerry. I wish I had his money. They need help at pretty much everywhere as well. That's why you're picking 12th. Wide receivers in need, running backs in need, corners in need. Those are probably the 3 biggest needs they got. I think it's a little high to take the next running back, so I'm holding off there. But as they say, in Texas, everything's bigger in Texas. Give me Matthew Golden from Texas, staying in Texas, to go opposite CeeDee Lamb and help give Dak Prescott some help down there in Big D. All right, that's the Miami pick. Now, Tom's got the official pick, but we're going to pause here, and I'll give my pick as well, even though mine doesn't really count. But it is a Miami Dolphins podcast, so that's what we do. All right, Tommy, I'll let you go first with the official pick. Pick 13. Miami's on the clock. Tell me your thought process. Now you're Chris Greer. Thoughts and prayers. What do you do?
Well, looking at the way this board has fallen to the Miami Dolphins, Mike, honestly, I'm looking to trade back, but we're not doing trades here.
No, we're here all night.
We'll be here all night. But personally, the way this board fell, the players that are available right now. Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan. Shamar Stewart, edge from Texas A&M. Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle from Texas. Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia. James Pierce, edge rusher out of Tennessee. Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon. And Nick Emanwari, safety out of South Carolina. Every single one of those players are in need for the Miami Dolphins. So for me personally, if the board fell the way that this draft is working, Mike, I'm taking a phone call and I'm moving back. Even if it's a few spots to get some extra picks, I'm doing that. But since we're not, this is 100% a Chris Greer pick. And it makes a ton of sense because there was literally nobody in the defensive backfield that has replaced Kendall Fuller in free agency. And I don't think safety, as much as I like Malachi Starks, I don't think safety is the pick. Will Johnson, to me, is the most fluid corner in this draft. And it seems logical because eventually Jalen Ramsey is not going to be here. He's going to be riding off into the sunset. And you need someone ready to go day one. And Will Johnson, to me, is the pick for the Miami Dolphins.
You are 100% right. I am with you. I agree with everything he says except for one thing. If Will Johnson's on the board, I ain't trading back because I ain't going to lose him. This team, forget picks because we've seen Chris Greer pick in round 3 and 4 with Channing Tindall, Michael Agnew, Solomon, Kinley. I want good players. Okay, now you're right with those 5 names. If you can trade back, go for it. But if Will Johnson's there, he's a cut above the rest of those names, and I ain't trading back if he's on the board. I'm just turning the card, taking a corner who's going to be there for the next 10 years, hopefully. I know the foot or the hamstring now. Here's the deal. April 14th, we'll know, okay? Because he's got his private workout for all the scouts, all the GMs. It's just been a hamstring issue. I've seen a lot of misinformation on the internet that he's injury prone. He ain't injury prone, folks. Here's what happened. 2022 played 14 games. 2023 played 12 games. This year played 6. And Michigan was so bad because he had a turf toe after 6 games. There was no sense for him to come back. You know why? It wouldn't have mattered. Michigan sucked this year. So he said, I'm looking out for number 1. Then he hurt his hamstring preparing for the combine. Can't run at the pro day. Gonna run at his private workout. This is just minor football injuries. Not like he tore an ACL, tore an MCL, tore an Achilles, a minor run-of-the-mill football injuries. He's not injury prone. And Will Johnson's the best corner in this draft. Honestly, if he went number 8 to the Panthers, would not be shocked. He went number 6 to the Raiders, would not be shocked. If San Francisco or Chicago took him, would not be shocked. The Cowboys could too. Okay, in this mock he fell. In a lot of mocks I see, he's fallen 13. And again, he's the only one I would take here at 13. If they could trade back, then trade back. Because like you said, they got like 5 other names they could take. But he is too good to pass up on. And for this year at least, you got Johnson and you got Ramsey. I am against Malachi Starks. I don't want no safety in round 1. It's just there's no value there. Starks is good. He's good. I don't know if he's the 13th pick of the draft good. If you want to take Grant or Nolan, I'm all for that. If the offensive line, we'll talk about that after we draft. There's a lot to talk about there. But yeah, and also Tyler Warren, if they did it, I wouldn't be pissed. But it just means they're thinking big picture, not 2025. That's all it means.
Right.
So yeah, I'm with you, Will Johnson. Good pick, Tommy. You didn't screw it up. I'm not going to boo you out there like I do Chris Greer most years. You didn't get booed, Tommy. Good job. Good job, Tommy. All right. Next pick here, we got the Indianapolis Colts. And this is a dream for the Colts if this happens. And when you see this player, Tom, you can picture him in a Colts jersey for like 10 years. Give me Tyler Warren. Doesn't he look like a Colt? Tyler Warren.
He does.
The tight end.
He's got Dallas Clark vibes.
Exactly, but he's way better. Just Tyler Warren, tight end, out of Penn State. He just looks like a Colt player, and the Colts would be giddy if he fell to 14. In reality, will he fall this far? It's possible. I don't know. I could see a team. I don't know. I mean, Jets could take him at 7. Saints could take him. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. But Tyler Warren, 14. Now up, the Atlanta Falcons.
I mean, their entire need is defense. Like, they need everything on defense. Grady Jarrett's no longer there. Their longest tenured player, he's gone. They need to get younger. They need to get better. And Shamar Stewart is a great start. And Raheem Morris will love this kid. He's got a great motor, and he is going to wreak some havoc in that not so great NFC South.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, you could pick any one of 5 names on defense. It'd be a good pick for them, honestly. And that's fine right there with Shamar Stewart. I actually love him. Love him for Miami at 13 too, if Will Johnson's not there. Arizona Cardinals. Every time I watch a Cardinals game, Kyler Murray's running for his life. I mean, it's like he is running for his life. So I'm going to go Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle out of Texas. I just think they need offensive line help. And as we know with Banks, some people think he can also play guard, all this stuff, but he can also play offensive tackle. Just Kelvin Banks to Arizona makes a lot of sense to help give Kyler Murray some protection. Next up is that cheap son of a gun, Mike Brown and the Cincinnati Bengals. Tom, man, you got the good ones. You got Tony Khan, you got the Jets, and you got that cheap SOB Mike Brown and the Bengals. And I know he just paid all those guys, but the point is he's just cheap as an owner because they don't even have their own practice facility in Cincinnati. He's too cheap to have one built. Tom, who do you have for Cincinnati?
Oh, he can't afford it now. He just paid those guys.
He'll never afford it.
Joe Burrow and the 2 wide receivers. Yeah. My God,
it'll be a high school.
Yeah. So, personally, I think Trey Hendrickson's getting traded. There's no way they can pay him at this point.
Yeah, I mean they have to.
They have to. So I think he gets traded. Hopefully, Dolphins, because we know that's a Chris Greer MO move. But they need to now think replacement, and I don't think there's a better replacement that's on the board than James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher out of Tennessee. Gives them I don't know how big of an impact because he's not Trey Hendrickson, but they're going to have something to build on in the future when they do trade Trey Hendrickson. So James Pierce Jr. is the pick.
Okay. Well, I'm just looking. James Pierce, yeah. Okay. Number 18 for Seattle. And I know Seattle needs offensive line help in a big way. Their offensive line, it's been bad for years, and it's really just hasn't gotten any better. Who do I got here? Who's the next best? I got to go offensive line. I'm trying to see who hasn't been picked yet. I know one guy for sure, and we might be going there. Who else we got? Anyone else? You know what I'm going to go? Seattle would do a pick like this. Give me Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. I know he's coming off the injury and all that stuff, but, if it wasn't for that, this guy would be picked in the top 10. And he is that good. So give me Josh Simmons, Ohio State, to the Seattle Seahawks in the Great White North. Next up, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They've had a lot of turnaround in the defensive backfield outside of Antoine Winfield Jr. Lost Carlton Davis. They traded him, and they didn't really get phenomenal play out of their secondary last year outside of Antoine Winfield Jr. So I think he needs a running mate. I think they will go Malachi Starks. I think I love his versatility, Mike. His game reminds me a little bit of what Minkah Fitzpatrick was for Alabama in college and what he should have been doing for the Dolphins until Brian Flores scared him away. But Malachi Starks, I think, is a great pick, and they have a ridiculous safety tandem in the NFC South.
Okay, it's for Tampa Bay. Denver's up next, and
you got a good one. This is a good shot right here.
I know who I want. I think I'm good. I mean, there's a couple guys on the list, but I'm gonna go with Omarion Hampton, the running back out of North Carolina. See, the tide is turning on this stuff right now when it comes to running backs. It used to be never take one around one. Then it's like, well, if you got one who's like a special guy, blah, 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 take one. And now it's like, well, you might see like 3 going around one. And Hampton, here's a hot take. I like him better than Ashton Gentry. I'm not a big Ashton Gentry guy, He played at a school where the competition level wasn't great. And then when he got to the playoff game against Penn State, he fumbled like 3 times in that game. To me, he's just a running back. But Hampton, North Carolina, played against higher level competition. I actually like his game a little bit more, how it translates to the NFL. I know that I am in the minority there, but Hampton to the Broncos at 20 to give Bo Nix a little help. I like that pick. I could see Sean Payton, who's an offensive-minded guy, doing that. So that's that. Pittsburgh, 21, Tom. This is another interesting spot in this draft that could go in a lot of ways.
Yes. They're not reaching for a quarterback. They're not doing that. As bad as they need a quarterback, because I mean, they really don't have a quarterback on their roster.
They got one. He's waiting for the Pat McAfee show. That is going to be. Pat McAfee's got a live show in Pittsburgh in like second week of April. He's going to walk out on stage, and that's when this is all going to happen because it's all staged with him. He's nothing more than a drama queen. We got our own, but he's nothing more than a drama queen, and he's just going to walk out on stage. He's going to probably walk out and say, I'm a Steeler. Everyone's going to go nuts. This is going to drag out to that live Pat McAfee show, April, whatever, and that's when you'll see the formal announcement. This is theater for him.
Yeah. So Pittsburgh has always been a defensive team, and it's Mike Tomlin, right? So I think they go defense. I think they need some help on the interior. I think Derek Harmon is a good pick out of Oregon. He was a transfer, and he, shot up draft boards. He had a good workout and had a really good 2024 season. I think Derek Harmon's the pick. He seems like he's the type of blue collar Steeler player that they're looking for.
Yeah. Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers are up. To me, draft falls this way. It's a no-brainer for them. They need to give the big guy, Justin Herbert, some help. And the name on the board, who, once again, at all the wide receivers, I'd probably have him ranked second. The kid from, the kid from Arizona is really good, but Matthew Golden's, I like him a lot, and I like this kid even a lot too. And that's, I'm going to probably screw this name up as well, from Ohio State, Emeka. I'm not even going to try the last name. It's Emeka. Ibuka, that's, or however you say it. It doesn't matter what his name. No, it's Emeka Ibuka from Ohio State. Herbert needs help, and that's the help that he's going to get because I just think he's a big time. Look, Ohio State and LSU, if they send a wide receiver to the NFL, just draft him. You don't have nothing to worry about. And this is just one of those cases. And I think Harbaugh will love having him be a primary weapon for Herbert. Next up, the Green Bay Packers. Now, this is a hometown pick here. Hometown pick for the Packers because the draft's in Green Bay. So don't get booed by the fans, Tom.
Yeah, well, they're not going to take anyone from Wisconsin, so they don't have to worry about that. They are getting ready to move on from Jair Alexander.
And he might be coming to Miami. All 7 games. He'll give you a great 7 games.
Yeah. He's very good when he plays, but, injuries. But it's
Armato. Great when they play.
Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas, is
surprised he fell this
got to
far.
be the pick.
Yeah, kind of surprised he fell this far. I know there's been some scuttlebutt, rumor, innuendo. He's going to play for Miami at 13 if Will Johnson's gone. And I can see why, because they need help at corner. I don't know about 13 for him. To me, he's just a slot corner. I know he played some outside corner last year, if not a lot, at Texas. But to me, he's still a slot corner in the NFL. And I don't know at 13. That might be a little high for him. But I totally get it. Totally get it there. Next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings, who need help at corner, offensive line, safety. They need help everywhere. And they only got 4 picks. So if there's ever a team as well that wants to trade down, this is a team that would probably like to trade down and get more picks. They only got 4. We've lived through that here in recent years after we made trades for Chubb and Hill. And then we got caught tampering and picks were taken away. It was 2022, 2023. We did not have a lot of picks. So Minnesota, I feel your pain. I think they're going safety. And I think they're going to go out of South Carolina, Nick Emmanwori, the safety from South Carolina. Again, I've seen him to Miami. I really don't want a safety in round 1. I just don't think there's value there. I think if Miami wants a safety. Round 2 or 3, you can get one who can come in and play. Round 1 to 13, again, corner, there's a couple. You want to go offensive line, there's a couple. You want to go defensive line, there's a couple. I would avoid safety in round 1. I think both those kids, Nick Manwari and Malachi Starks, are nice players. They're good players. I don't think they're worthy of the 13th pick of round 1. I just don't. I don't see them as that good. So I hope they pass there, but we'll see what Miami does. Houston, 25, the Houston Texans. No more Laramie Tunsil down there now, so you got to factor that in. What do you do, Tommy?
Offensive line, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. If it's not an offensive line pick, Nick Caserio really needs to get his glasses checked, because how much was CJ Stroud running around last year? He was the most sacked quarterback. If not the most sacked quarterback, it might have been Caleb Williams, but Stroud was not too far behind, and he had a regression because they couldn't protect him. So the best available offensive lineman on the board is Tyler Booker out of Alabama. I think he would be I don't think he's going to be pushed to the outside. I think they're going to play him at guard where he belongs. And he can open up some running lanes for Joe Mixon, because honestly, was the best thing that worked for him last year.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's probably a nice spot for him too. Late round 1 for a guard on a team that's really good. Nice fit. That's probably a good pick for them. Next up is the Rams, the LA Rams. This is, again, one of those other interesting picks here for the Rams. They got a bunch of needs, specifically on defense, linebacker, corners a need. Offensive line's always a need. And with Sean McVay, tight end, wide receiver. But I'm throwing a curveball because this is a draft. And in the draft, you always love that curveball when they say, and he reads the name off the card. Everyone goes, whoa, like that. Here's your whoa moment. Jackson Dart goes to the Rams in round 1. Dante Collinelli, I am sorry. I am with you. He is not a round 1 quarterback, but here's the deal. Matthew Stafford ain't getting any younger. And I know they just reworked his deal. It's only a 2-year deal, okay? And 2 things. If Matthew Stafford hangs it up after this year, would not be shocked. Even if he plays for 2 years with a 5th-year option, you got Dart for 3 years. They need to start thinking about life after Matthew Stafford. They do it here. Jackson Dart, they got to take him here, because I think you got teams like the Browns. I think you got some other teams at the top of round 2 who might be looking to scoot up here at the end of round 1 to grab him, and they better grab him now. There are other needs they can fill later in the draft. They're not so pressing. The Rams are a good team. The Rams were really the only team in the playoffs that gave Philadelphia fits. So they can take a shot here in round 1. Think about quarterback of the future. Jackson Dart to the Rams at 26. Tom, Baltimore Ravens.
The Ravens' MO is always, in my opinion, you either go trenches or you go in the back 7. And I think it's a great spot for them to take a trench player. And that trench player is going to be Donovan Jackson, the offensive guard from Ohio State. I think maybe it's a little bit of a reach there, but they need some interior offensive line help. And, they're a solid team, regardless. They're always putting up 11, 12, 13 wins. I was tempted to go wide receiver there, because I just feel like I don't care they brought in DeAndre Hopkins. He's like 68
he's
years
done.
old.
He can't play. Yeah.
And I think they did a great job with Zay Flowers, but they still need some help there. I was tempted to go wide receiver, but I figured to go with the safe pick and go with the interior offensive line.
Yeah. 100% there. And in my mock draft 1.0, which I dropped last week, I had Miami getting Jackson at pick 48. But here's the deal. As I said on the podcast I did last Monday, Jackson's an interesting guy in that he could go late round 1 like here, or no later probably than pick 50. So pick 48's tough because he is a true offensive guard. Those guys usually fall. They're guards. They don't have the value as like an offensive tackle. But at the end of last year when Josh Simmons went down, he played left tackle, and they didn't miss a beat. They won a national championship. So he can play offensive tackle. You don't want to play him there, but he can hold his own there, even at an NFL level probably. but he's truly a guard. But for the Ravens, you play him at guard, and if you need him at tackle, you swing him to tackle. That's why I kind of like him for Miami. If the Miami Dolphins ever did something bold, like they traded down from 13 to say 27, 28, and they picked up a first-round pick next year, and their first pick is number 27, take Donovan Jackson, I'd be totally fine, because he's which we're going to talk about next. He's the type of guy you can pencil in at guard, and in case of emergency, can play tackle. I don't want the reverse. Someone who's a tackle who's never played guard. Well, just assume he can play guard, which we'll talk about next. Lions are up next. And the
Put
Lions
your Dan Campbell hat on, Mike.
Yeah, this is very easy for the Lions. This is very, very easy if this happens for the Lions. They're going to take Mike Green, the edge rusher out of Marshall. I'm shocked he fell this far. This guy, I've seen a lot of mocks from people like Trust Mocks, Kuiper, Jeremiah, that crew. Okay, he's like a top 15, 16 pick. I'm getting him here at 28. Give me Mike Green, edge rusher for Lions. Lions need to up their pass rush. They got to improve on that side of the ball overall. As exciting as they are on offense, they are terrible on defense. They have to improve on defense. Give me Mike Green.
It's a good pick. I like it. Up next is the Washington Commanders with a very good quarterback on a rookie contract. So this is kind of like you take the best player available type of pick. And I don't think there's a better pick right now on the board than going Jihad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama.
Yeah, he fell a little because of the injury.
Dan Quinn loves his defensive players, and the fact that Jihad Campbell has fallen into his lap would just make no sense to pass on him. That to me is a great pick.
Yeah, he's probably going to miss at least half the season. But again, he is so good. Like before that injury, I would have had Miami taking him after Will Johnson at 13. He is that good. I mean, he is a human wrecking ball. And I think for a team like Washington, that's good. They can wait this out. Again, you're drafting not just for 2025, you're drafting for the next 10 years. You hope to get a guy who's in your system for not just his rookie contract, but then he signs a 5-year deal after that, and he's there for 10 years. And Campbell is that good at linebacker. Again, though, the injury stinks for him, because if not for that injury, he's not getting past a team like Tampa at 19. He's not getting past Atlanta at 15. He might not get past Miami at 13, depending on how the first 12 picks goes. But with that injury, he's probably going to fall a bit, and it stinks for him. Now, what stinks for me is I got a pick for the godforsaken Buffalo Bills. And there's a player on this board that they are going to, the Bills Mafia is going to love. They're going to go nuts. They're going to be squirting their wing sauce that night and jumping through tables like a bunch of freaking morons. But I have to do my job as a Bills GM and make the best pick available. And at pick 30, the Buffalo Bills select Kenneth Grant, Michigan. They need help on the defensive line. This guy's, the fact he fell to number 30 in our mock, I'm a little surprised, but he's a big guy who can run. He can stuff them. Bills get Kenneth Grant. I don't want to talk about it, Tom. I need my space.
Well, don't be surprised if the Chiefs trade up with the Bills and just give them like a 6-round pick to move up one spot, because the Bills like to trade with Kansas City just to lose to them in the playoffs every year. So the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and in the end, they're going to do what's best for that football team. And honestly,
best for business,
knowing that this guy, what's best for business, and this guy has fallen in their lap, knowing one guy is getting ready to hang it up and travel the world with his girlfriend, Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan, will be the replacement for Travis Kelce in Kansas City.
That's what the third guy from Michigan. No, that's the fourth guy from Michigan in round 1. Mason Graham, Will Campbell, Grant, and Loveland. It just shows.
Harbaugh left a very good football team that just sucked last year.
Well, yeah, because they didn't have a quarterback last year. If they had a quarterback last year, they would have been in the playoff and probably lost 1 or 2 games. There were some games in like October where they were playing a quarterback who threw for like 6 yards a game. I mean, they had people who couldn't throw forward passes. They were that bad. But the rest of the team was low. That's why when Will Campbell was healthy after their turf toe. It's like, what's the point of coming back? Like, he knows he's going to be like a top 10 pick or top 12, 13 pick in this draft. Like, there's no sense of returning because they were so bad last year. All right, pick 32, the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, rich get richer. They need help on defense, safety, on the line, corner, edge. Offensive line, they're pretty okay. That's like a weak need for them. But Walter Nolan falls in their lap. Again, another stud player falls to the end of round 1. Walter Nolan, Ole Miss defensive tackle. Put him next to everything else they got on that line, and they're going to be just fine, the Philadelphia Eagles. Honestly, I had this thought the other day as I was, reading up on some stuff for the draft, looking over what all these teams need, this, that, and the other. And I'm sitting there going, the Eagles are by far and away the best team in the NFL. Like, I don't even know if there's I know with the Chiefs, Pat Mahomes, they're always going to be in it. But, like, Washington, the Bills, Ravens, Philadelphia is so far and away the better team in this league. I would not be shocked if they win it all next year. I think they are in a class to themselves. Kansas City's right there with them. I'll say that. But Kansas City needs to work on the offensive line. Like you said, tight ends getting a little old. They got to work on a couple things. The Eagles, it's really just like they just need a tune-up more than anything else. They don't need any heavy lifting here. So that's our round 1. Let's see. Is there anyone that wasn't picked that's been going in round 1? Let me see here. Let me see if I don't think I'll say the one surprise. I don't think the Saints are taking a running back, Tom. I just don't. I think they got so many needs elsewhere. And plus that's a first-year coach. I could see him rolling the dice on Dart if he wants to. If he doesn't, because next year's class, he probably thinks he'll be picking at the top of next year's draft. But I think he'll go offensive line. He could go wide receiver, or I think he'll go corner because they got need. I don't know if he's going running back there. So that's one I wouldn't agree with you on. But all the rest are fine. I'm trying to think if we left anybody out. I'm looking at. I got 2 mock drafts open here for Kuiper and Jeremiah. See if there's any names we missed. At the end of round 1, yeah. But who?
Luther Burden, wide receiver from Missouri.
Missouri? Maybe, but I don't see him as a round 1 guy. The Florida State corner, Azari Thomas. He's been going late round 1 in a couple. I think Trey Amos as well, the corner. The teams that value cornerbacks, like Trey Amos, Thomas from Florida State, and also Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky. Like, those guys could sneak in around 1. Other than that, we kind of hit everyone else. I've seen some people say Gray, Zabel goes in round 1. I don't see that. North Dakota, I think he'll go early night 2, round 2, top of round 2. I don't see him going night 1, but I think we did hit everything. I think this mock might not look like round 1 is, I think, at the top, and not the top, but I think pick 8, 9, and 10, where I took the 2 edge rushers from Georgia to the Panthers and the Bears, and you took Ashton Gentry. In those 3 picks, it could absolutely be in no special order. It could be Will Campbell, Will Johnson, Tyler Warren, which then will change things drastically for the Dolphins, who I think then either probably go Kenneth Grant or Kelvin Banks at 13. So, we'll see. We'll do one of these again next week where we'll switch. I'll do the odd numbers. Tom will do the even numbers. Before we get on to the rest of the show, as always, a quick shout out to everyone listening at finheaven.com. Everyone go to finheaven.com, the largest message board on the internet for the Miami Dolphins. A quick shout out to the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook group run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are a part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook group. And also, wherever you're listening to this podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Audible, or the other hundreds of platforms are on, make sure to subscribe to that channel on YouTube. Of course, smash the like button, subscribe. Make sure you are subscribed. We're going to have shows pretty much every day of the week leading up to the draft. Maybe not every day, but damn close. And when we get to the week before the draft and the week of the draft, every day, we will be live night 1 of the draft, night 2 of the draft, and day 3 of the draft. And myself and Tom will have shows each one of those nights after the draft as well. We got you covered when it comes to the draft. All right, first thing, let's talk. We sort of hinted about this a little. A lot of mock drafts, a lot of experts think Miami needs to draft a left tackle at 13 because it's like Patrick Paul was never born. It's like they don't think he even exists. And it's like, Armstead's gone. How are they going to replace Patrick Paul? First off, Armstead's not officially gone yet, although I did see either last night or today, I can't remember because I've read so much, Omar Kelly, the Miami Herald, our friend, a good friend Omar, he wrote up 5 draft prospects he likes for the Dolphins, and when writing about Will Campbell, he did say that most likely Armstead will retire or not be in Miami. I forget the official words. I think it was most likely will retire. And plus that's what Mike McDaniel said at the Combine before Armstead did everything with his deal. We're moving on without Armstead. So even if Armstead wants to play, I don't think it will be in Miami. I think Armstead will retire or he'll be playing elsewhere next year. With that said, you got Patrick Paul. As our very own Dante Colonelli pointed out, if you look at the PFF numbers, which were bad last year for Patrick Paul, the bad numbers were when he played right tackle. At left tackle, the numbers were like, not too bad. Not great, but it was such a small sample size. My point is, if you want to address offensive line in round 1, take a guard. Take Tyler Booker. Because we got Austin Jackson and we got Patrick Paul. Take Tyler Booker then, okay? If you think he's a scheme fit and all that stuff, which some people say he's not, some people say he is. I really haven't watched enough on him. He's someone I'm going to start.
From Liam Eichenberg.
Yeah, well, that's it. Because the need Miami has is a guard. It's not offensive tackle. What's the point of drafting a left tackle in round 2 if you're never going to play him there? And he can't play guard. And this whole notion is, well, we have to draft a left tackle that we're going to play a guard in case Patrick Paul stinks. What happens if the tackle you draft, you play a guard, stinks a guard? And then Patrick Paul is not bad at left tackle. You've just wasted the 13th overall pick of the draft. I am done trying to fit the square peg in the round hole. Calvin Banks has never played guard in his life. He might be great at it. He might suck at it. The point is, we don't know, okay? And to take him and say, we're just going to play him at guard, and if Patrick Paul sucks, which really is a ringing endorsement of your second-round pick of last year, saying we're already prepared to move on from him before he's even given a fair chance, blows my mind. And this is how you go 25 years without winning a playoff game, is this type of logic. So Patrick Paul might be great. Patrick Paul might stink on toast. I don't know. But in 2025, I want to find out. So at pick 13, Tom, are you drafting a left tackle who's maybe never played offensive guard before in his life and just figure, we'll throw him there, it'll be fine? Or are you just drafting a guard? Or my logic, just ignore offensive line in round 1 and just draft a guard in round 2 who can play guard and not have to worry about this. What say you?
I say you don't draft an offensive lineman, especially an offensive tackle. I'm 100% agreement. And I've been in the camp of Austin Jackson in the offseason. When you really think about the Miami Dolphins last year, in the first 4 weeks of the season, they were ranked in the top 3-4 in regards of rush yards per game, and it looked like they didn't drop off a cliff when it came to the ground game. Austin Jackson goes out for the season with his injury, and the ground game completely imploded. So you go from one of the best teams in the NFL in rushing to one of the worst teams in the NFL in rushing, and it's signaled that Austin Jackson was probably a big catalyst to the success of the ground game. So having him back and ready to go for camp probably this summer will be great to have him back. Hopefully he's ready to go for week 1. I'm giving Patrick Paul a fair shake at left tackle. I think it's foolish to spend a first-round pick on a left tackle when you have one that you drafted in the second round last year. And
pick 55,
so I'm in agreement.
top 60 pick.
Yes, you have to give him a fair shake. Now, if he's not good next year, okay. All right, great. You move on from him. You can kick him. You can do whatever you want. You have Patrick Paul under control for the next 3 seasons, including this year. Okay. At pick 13, you need to draft an absolute impact player, defensive line, defensive back. You love a linebacker there, go right ahead. If you like Tyler Warren, go right ahead.
I want to no doubt someone who can start. Someone who can start at a position they've played before.
100%. 100%. And for me also, and I said this and I got a little heat for it, so I'll say it again. If you think Tyler Warren is a good pick at 13, Mecca Ikbuka is a good pick also at 13. If you're looking for guys that can catch the football and open things up and have a legitimate guy that can replace Tyreek Hill when he's gone, yes, segue, that could be the moment to do it. And if the Dolphins do make that move, in August what the plan is if they do draft a pass catcher at pick 13. But again, I'm also in the camp. If the board falls and you lose guys like Will Campbell, if you lose guy like Will Johnson and you can't get a defensive tackle at pick 13, trade back. Pick up some draft picks. You're going to get some picks in this draft. You'll get picks in next year's draft. Slide back 4, 5, 6 spots. Whatever it is going to be, whatever the haul's going to be is great. Then you go and get Tyler Booker if he's still on the board, or you go draft another guy that can play guard, because for the love of God, I cannot see Liam Eichenberg on my program as the starting right guard for the Miami Dolphins or the starting left guard for the Miami Dolphins. I'm done with Liam Eichenberg, and this podcast still exists because Mike allows it to, but we're treading water, folks.
We're treading waters, right? But here's the deal.
Eichenberg is the starter day one for the Dolphins.
I think he is going to be the starter day one. I think they like him more than us, and I think their whole saying is you guys are more worried about the offensive line than us. Do not be shocked if in 3 weeks from now or on Saturday, after the entire draft, they meet with the media and he says a line with a smirk and a grin, but he's serious. You guys are more worried about Liam Eichenberg than we are. Do not be shocked if that happens. I think that was one of their big signs. I know it's not for a lot of money. I know it's for 1 year, but in their eyes, they see it as we got a starting offensive lineman for $2.1 million, 2.2, whatever the hell it was. That's how they see it. Not we see it one way. I'm telling you, they see it a whole different way. And that's my fear. I know they'll probably draft someone in the first 3 rounds to compete, but they like the kid. Don't ask me why. Anyone who watches the games, I don't know how anyone can watch the games and actually think, and again, not personal. Sure, he's a nice human being, but they like him way more than any of us. So that's what that is. But yeah, at 13, I don't want an unknown. Don't give me Kelvin Banks, who's never played guard, and then say, well, he's going to compete at left guard with Leon. No. I want at 13 either a safety who's played safety, a corner who's played corner, and edge rusher who's played edge rusher, an nose tackle who's been in. Like, that's what I want. I don't want no projects. Just enough. Let's just draft kind of a sure. You're 13. You can draft kind of a sure thing. Now the trade back. Yes, if you can, go for it. Here's the problem. This draft only has about 8 or 9 true first-round talents. So at pick 13, if those guys are gone, teams might not be looking to trade up because, look, I can stay where I am, hold on to my picks, and I'm going to get the same level of player. It would take a team falling in love with someone, which can happen, but I think
like Will Campbell. If Will Campbell fell,
but I wouldn't trade back if he's on the board.
100%, I would trade back. I mean, I know a lot of people maybe in this chat or listening on the podcast will probably just threw something at the radio screen with me saying that, but we just talked about it, right? You have Austin Jackson at right tackle and Patrick Paul at left tackle. Why are you drafting an offensive tackle at 13 when you know you can't kick Patrick Paul inside?
Yeah.
Can't.
I know. And I know some people say because the arm length, because his arm's 3/8 of an inch too small than it should be. He should be playing guard. Has he ever played guard before? And I don't think he's played much of it. And it's like, what are we doing?
Offensive tackle. It's pretty
an offensive tackle, folks, in the SEC, and the damn good one. I know his arm length might be 3/8 of an inch smaller than what some teams like, but really, that's what it's come down to. Like 5/8 of an inch, 3/8 of it. Really, that's what it's come down to. And I mean, that's really over analysis. And
watch the tape. Just watch
that's
the tape.
once again where I say this, and if this insults people, I don't care. Where the nerds have ruined the sport. The nerds have ruined the sport with that type of bullshit. So yeah, we'll see what they do. But offensive line's a need. I just don't think it's a need in round 1 at 13 because again, look at the defense, folks. It sucks right now. They have one cornerback you trust. Safety, I don't trust any of them. You can say they got one that you semi-trust, who's always hurt. Okay. Linebacker's actually pretty good shape. But then on the line, you got Zach Sealer. And don't give me Benito Jones. He's a career backup at best. They got nobody. That's where they need to use
rotational guy. Decent rotational.
Yeah. He's a rotational guy. Drop the word decent. He's just a rotational guy. Okay. Last thing we got to talk about, because I am so stinking exhausted of talking about Tyreek Hill and this nonsense. And I know some fans say, what's the big deal? Who cares? Here's why. Because this stuff makes headlines, and it's going to be everywhere Monday morning now. Because some guy who's just a random guy who works for Over the Cap, a website that only the diehards of diehard football fans even know exists, was asked what player might be a surprise trade candidate during the draft. And the guy was said, I don't know, Tyreek Hill maybe. He didn't even, I'm pretty sure it was a vague. Let me find the actual tweet. God forbid I misquote this. I'll get called out by somebody. God forbid in this world. What was the actual? He said probably Tyreek Hill. He even said probably. I mean, it didn't seem like it was confident. So then Tyreek Hill sees it, and then he goes into trolling mode. And I know it's a trolling mode, but the point is, here's why this shit matters. And then he puts up the peace sign. He first quote tweets that and puts up a peace sign peace out, I'm leaving Miami. Then he puts up another tweet by himself, says, peace out, I'm leaving Miami. Which, okay, here's the deal. This is a guy who quit on his team. This is a guy who right now has an injured hand, wrist, whatever, can't even catch footballs till the end of July, essentially the start of training camp. He's talking about racing Noah Lyles. He has a lawsuit in the middle of next season for the plus size model thing though in his yard where her leg is broken, his backyard. That lawsuit, if it's not settled, which it probably will be, but as of today, is going to take place in October or November of 2025 in the middle of the season. So if the Dolphins have a game and this thing is not settled by then, he ain't going to be around for a week or two maybe because he's going to be in court for at least a week. Maybe he can play, but he won't be it's going to be a mess. This guy quit on the team, said what he said, walked it back. Then his agent, the week of the Super Bowl, goes on and says he tries to walk it back. Then he's asked a tough question, goes, well, I can't speak for Tyreek. This is just a disaster. And me as a fan, just a fan, am sick and tired of it. And why this matters is because when he put up those two tweets, let me tell you how the NFL works. Let me pull back the curtain a little bit. He puts out those tweets, the peace out thing. On a Sunday afternoon in March, the Dolphins PR media relations team probably started a group chat. Look what Tyreek did. How do we handle this? Mike McDaniel is at the league meetings, which is going to start tomorrow. Who's going to get to Mike, coach him up how to answer this, make sure he doesn't say something wrong. What's our message we're putting out there? Look, everyone's life is thrown into chaos now on a Sunday afternoon because this asshole is going to put up the peace sign and make headlines that's going to get picked up by every news outlet, going to get picked up by ESPN, Fox, the NFL Network. Now, Tyreek Hill's making headlines. I know it's a dumb tweet. I know that. You know that. I know he's trolling, but these media outlets treat it as real news because if he didn't quit at the end of last year, they wouldn't, but he did. So you have to treat this as kind of real news because he said before he wanted out of Miami in the heat of the moment, and now he's putting up peace signs, which again, is he trolling? Yes, but this is the chaos he puts the organization in. And this is why people like the guy for Over the Cap thinks he will be traded. This is why a lot of the fan base has turned on Tyreek. Not all of them. I know there's some fans who don't care, and they're going to drink his bathwater till the day he retires. He's fun to watch. I love Tyreek. Go for it. You're entitled to. But a lot of the fan base are just so exhausted by this guy and every little thing that he makes news for these days, except for on the field. Because last year, how did he do? Wasn't too good. He didn't play well. You can make all the excuses in the world. Tua played enough games where his numbers should have been better, and they weren't very good. And it just, for a guy who said, well, I only said what I said after the year because I was frustrated. I'm used to winning. I'm used to being in the playoffs. If you want to win that bad, you never should have left Kansas City. Okay. So that don't fly with me. This guy it never ends. And I know this is minor and you're making a mountain out of a molehill. No, I'm not. You know why? Because in a week or two, it's going to be something else. And then a week or two after that, it's going to be something else. And it's just always something. Here's our chat. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. You can't win this way in this league. You might have fun. You might see the big play every now and then, but you ain't going to win with this guy on your team making headlines in March over petty bullshit. And yes, folks, this will be headlines now. So Tyreek, say what you want, Tom, but it's just, again, with this guy, just go and enjoy quiet off season, show up in camp and play football. It's always stuff that's non-football related. And I know there's going to be a segment of fans of people, you're making too much out of this. Yeah, if this was the one time he's ever done something like this, you might have a case. It's like the 50th time it's been something like this.
I don't know anymore when it comes to Tyreek.
Just go away, Tyreek. Really, just leave, honestly.
Well, look, for a guy that works for Over the Cap, the numbers make zero sense that they'll be moving on from Tyreek Hill pre-June 1st because the Dolphins still have to conduct business through the summer. So, signing the draft class and so on and so forth, all that has to still happen. And there is zero chance that Tyreek Hill is traded. I shouldn't say zero.
Don't say zero.
It's less than 1%.
If they hate,
less
if
than
they
1%.
Are so fed up, they'll say screw the cap.
Look,
if they're that fed up.
If they're that fed up and they want to eat and lose the cap space they have kind of accumulated, I mean, by all means, it to me just doesn't make any damn sense to trade him until after August 1st, because then the Dolphins can recoup
after June
cap.
1st. After June 1st.
June 1st. They can recoup the cap, but they have to trade him because I believe he's due a bonus, but in August. Am I at the end of August?
August 31st. He's doing a big payment. August 31st.
So you have to make your decision on what you're doing with Tyreek Hill. And like I said, if they're taking a wide receiver at 13, at 48, at the end of round 3, they might already have the thought process of we're moving him before we have to pay him his bonus. So there's a chance they move on, but for me, it does the team no good. If you're trading Tyreek Hill, you're basically just waving the white flag at this point, unless you have an in-house replacement already for him. And the Dolphins have a hard time finding a wide receiver number 3. Okay. If Waddle is banged up, if Tyreek Hill is banged up, the offense goes to absolute poo-poo. It is not good. So I don't know. I think they make it work because they do get a ton of cap space in 2026 when Tyreek Hill will not be on this roster. Most likely they either will cut him or they will trade him for a bag of peanuts, not anywhere close to what the Dolphins traded for him back in 2022. I'm just tired of the drama. I know he likes to troll, and he had in his profile that he likes to start something and then leave. It's just not a good look after what happened at the end of the season. What you said about the team, you literally quit on them. You wouldn't check back into the game because Kansas City was running, or Denver was running away with the game against Kansas City. He didn't feel the need to continue to play against the Jets. Whatever it was, you still quit on your team. So I'm in the camp of enough's enough, but he's still ultra talented on the football field. He did have a bad year last year, his worst year since 2016, which was his rookie year with Kansas City. We could say that the injury to his wrist that he suffered in the summer may have hindered him a little bit. I'm not going to say that was the full thing. I'm also more in the camp of, I don't know what the hell kind of offensive system that was being run there last year in Miami. They just said, oh, well, okay, everyone's going to take away the deep ball. We're just going to play a short game. Oh, my God. It was just unbearable to watch. It truly was. It was nothing like we saw in 22 and 23. It's like they were too scared to go back to the well because they were playing, too high shell against the Dolphins for a good majority of the game. I think they keep him through 2025, maybe through the trade deadline. Maybe they move him if the team is not good. They could move him before his bonus is due in August. So post June 1st, they could potentially do something, but they get no benefit this year. So if you're throwing in the towel and really looking ahead to a new regime, you trade Tyreek Hill over the summer and you kiss the 2025 season goodbye. I don't see him doing that.
I think they already have in some ways. Because here's the deal.
Maybe, but
this offseason,
I'm not in that camp yet.
This offseason and what they did in free agency, I don't think they're any better than they were last year. And in fact, I think they might have taken a step back in some ways. I think this roster is not as good as it was last year today. And I know it's not over yet, but again, from a free agent perspective, it's kind of over. It's like, I don't know. So there's that aspect of it. And again, this team gets off to a slow start, 1-5, 3-6. He's just going to have a blow up and they're going to say, just stay home. Like, he ain't cut out for this. Okay. He's cut out for making the money, making big plays, and having fun on the field, but he ain't cut out for losing. And, once again, sorry, Dolphins fan. I'm a fan, just like everyone listening. We essentially haven't won anything in 25 years, and I don't think it's going to change next year. So this guy he's going to have a meltdown by the end of October. By Halloween next year, he's going to have a meltdown. It's going to end badly. We can see where this is headed. It's going to end badly. So I don't care what they do with him. He can come back and play that because I don't think this is going to end well. And I think at some point next year when they're eliminated from the playoffs by, mid-November, not officially eliminated, but you can tell they ain't going. He'll have a meltdown then. He's going to have a meltdown at some point. And this is the problem they have, the Dolphins. You want to be a respected organization. You want to be a winning organization. You can't have this stuff constantly happening with one guy. Even Armstead, who might not even be here this year, when he was asked at the Super Bowl, said Tyreek's got to mend some fences in the locker room. You think that's happened when he's putting this stuff out today? Think that's going to mend any fences? Again, some people might just laugh and say, it's no big deal. What are you going to work up over? This is why you lose. This is why you don't win playoff games in 25 years. You got to have everyone on the same page, rowing the same direction. And you can't have this nonsense constantly happening. And it's not a one-time thing, not even a two-time thing. It's like a 45th time thing, and he's only been here for 2.5 years. But that's it. It is what it is. Okay, that's all for today's show. We'll have shows this week. A show with myself and Dougley Durong. I'll see if maybe Josh Moser's available and some other stuff we got going on with the pod as well. A lot of draft talk. My draft preview show with Dante Connelly Tuesday evening. We're going to break down offensive line and wide receivers. Last week, if you missed it, check it out. We broke down quarterback, running back, tight ends. This week, the rest of the offense, offensive line, tackle, guard, center, as well as the wide receiver position. So we'll be breaking that down. Follow Tom on social media at DolphinsTalk Tom. Follow myself at DolphinsTalk. Remember, you have a chance to win. Oh, where is it? I lost it. This hat, Miami Dolphins 2025 draft hat. You only got to do a couple things. Go to Apple Podcasts, search for Dolphins Talk, put up a 5-star rating, write a positive review. You got to write a positive review. Take a screenshot, email it to dolphinstalk1977@gmail.com. And on April 7th, everyone who submitted to play, I will pick a winner. And somebody will get a 2025 Miami Dolphins draft hat. So draft night, whoever Miami picks, you can wear the same hat as the player who walks across the stage. There's that. And also just check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com. We got a bunch of great writers putting up a bunch of great work. So check that out as well. Everyone have a great Sunday night. Have a great start to your week on Monday. We'll talk to you again after a while. And folks, don't forget, we must put an end to highway profanity.
Fins up.